Okay, is she going to participate in the meeting or? Okay, what is the reason for the absence? Because we need to approve that.
Councilor Vargas, could you hear Councilor Laurent's question?
Hi, I didn't hear it.
Okay, can you hear it now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, when we get to the approval process for you to join virtually, we'll ask you to state the reason why you couldn't be here physically, but hold off on that. We're running behind, so we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. If we're streaming now, all right. Okay, call the meeting to order. Time now is 1:11 p.m. I want to welcome everyone to the Logan Square Library for the 14th Police District Council's May 2nd, 2026 meeting. We will go ahead and get things started. As we mentioned, we've got someone wishing to join remotely, but Councilor Orlikoff?
I'm present.
And I am Councilor Laurent, so we do have a quorum regardless. And we do have a approval for remote attendance of councilor. Councilor Vargas, if you can hear me, could you please state the reason why you're not here in person?
Yeah, I do apologize. I'm sorry about that. I'm not there in person because my travel plans fell through. I'll be there later this week,
Okay.
but I'm out of town right now.
Okay. Is it family or medical emergency?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, all right. All in favor of approving Councilor Vargas' participation via remote? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we will go ahead and grant her present virtual. All right, moving forward, approval of the agenda. I've taken a look at it. Looks like the one that I saw before, I was confused about whether or not we had approved the March minutes, and it appears that we have previously, so we only have one. Seeing no other changes or amendments to the agenda, do we have a unanimous consent to proceed with the agenda as written?
Yes.
And Councilor Vargas, do you have any objections or amendments to the agenda?
Looks good.
Okay. All right. Moving forward. Okay. As we've all seen before, approving the previous minutes puts a real dull spot in our meetings. But while we do that, we're going to ask Lieutenant Ortega to give us a police update from the 14th Police District. If you could, Lieutenant Ortega.
Hi, good afternoon, Lieutenant Ortega. I'm Lieutenant from Second Watch, which covers the daytime from 07 to 03. I am the Watch Operations Lieutenant, and I'm here on behalf of the Commander and the Captain in their absence. Quick update from the public safety report from the last previous week. Overall, crime is down 12%. Of course, we had no murders. No criminal sexual assaults. Robberies are down. My class, sorry about that. Robberies are down 60% over the last week. Burglaries are down 60% over the past week also. Thefts are down 12%. We have an uptick in motor vehicle thefts, 27%. But again, overall, crime is down 12% in the 14th district.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to share, Lieutenant?
No, I think currently I don't know if anybody's seen on Kimball and Fullerton. They did have a break-in overnight at I think it's the vape tobacco store. Car rolled, pulled up. 4 guys with masks went in, broke in the front window, and they started taking stuff out. They're in and out within 4 minutes. So that's pretty much it in this area that happened recently.
Okay, is that a trend that we need to be concerned about, or?
No, it's pretty wide, but like I said, 14 district hasn't had that many burglaries, so we've been pretty good with that overall.
All right, because I know for a while we had a rash of ATM thefts from businesses, and that aren't not properly bolted and that sort of thing. And from what I understand, it got pretty brazen for a while there.
Yeah, with the ATMs and also the airbags. The airbags also too. I think that's where the motor computer thefts come in. Sometimes they break into the Hondas. It's a trend citywide with these airbags. So I guess they got some type of chemical in there, or some special material that they're looking for. So they went from catalytic converters to airbags.
Okay, so and I'm familiar with the catalytic converters. Is there a particular make and model of the Honda that we need to? That way we're putting
I
out.
think mostly, I think it's been Civics,
Okay.
I believe. But yeah, Hondas overall.
Okay. So stay away from my truck, everybody. All right. You have a question for the police?
Do you have any information on sexual assaults, domestic violence, or other attacks against people?
Well, zero criminal sexual assaults in the last week. Last week there was one. But overall, year to date, we're down 50%. There's only been, in the last 28 days, there's been 3 sexual assaults.
In the 14th district?
14 districts, yes.
That's a lot.
Yes.
So why do you say we're down?
I think it's
No, just a week, for the week. A week, sorry about that. Yeah, for the week.
last week.
Yeah, from last week, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for your benefit, on the airbags, club, old fashioned
Right.
club on the steering wheel, ride safety.
Right. And that's information that they put out at the CAPS meetings, but I wanted to, inform as many people. Not everyone makes it to the CAPS meetings, but don't want to be the highest ranking person holding the secret, if you will, So I want to make certain everybody has all that information to their avail, and they can take precautions accordingly.
The station is trying to distribute free.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, and we thank the 14th Police CAPS is running that program. So thank you for reminding me on that. Thank you for clarifying that for us. Does that conclude your report, Lieutenant?
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so while Lieutenant Ortega was going over the reports from the police district, we were given the opportunity to review the minutes from April 4, 2026. And Councilor Vargas, I imagine that you took the time accordingly?
Sure.
Okay.
I have no amendments.
Okay. Any amendments or changes that need to be made?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we will go ahead and approve these by unanimous consent. Thank you very much for that. All right. And we are getting into everyone's favorite portion, public comment. This is where we get to hear what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. And so just a reminder with the public comment portion, do you wish to make a comment, ma'am? I see you shaking your head. We're going to take a total of 20 minutes on this. Ms. Heyman, take a total of 20 minutes, giving each person about 2 minutes total. And that way we can proceed on, make certain your voices are heard. We want to make certain that we're not making any personal attacks, and we're keeping it clean as we do have a stream going on here. So that being said, I've got Mr. Peter Cohn. You want to lead us off?
Yeah, I just look at the literature here and I don't see what off the top of my head before, which is the website, how to get to the website and things like that. I think it should be written down, being an old paper and print person myself, but nonetheless, to get some things, you have to go to the website. So that should be more accessible. It does have the email address.
All right. Well, thank you for your comments, Mr. Cohn. All right. We'll get Ms. Heyman up next.
Yeah. Since we have the OIG here today, I had a couple of questions about their activity. One is, are you investigating Michael Nowacki, 14th District Police Officer? He's a sergeant who's been associated with the Oath Keepers. And what's the status on that? I know BIA has said they're all 8 of them are free and clear and no problems. I know COPA has referred it back to, I filed a COPA complaint against Milwaukee, and that was sent back to BI. That good. Is OIG investigating Milwaukee and the other 8 guys that he's listed those speakers? Secondly, the CCPSA in their, not the latest meeting, but the meeting before that, was voted to ask for CPD collaboration with ICE and the Border Patrol be investigated by OIG. Is that happening? And third, the consent decree. Does OIG do anything on that? Because it seems like that's just not moving at all. And I just wondered if you all have any role in pushing that forward. And you can answer that in this.
Okay, that's fine. So with regard to your first question, OIG investigations are confidential pursuant to Municipal Code of Chicago 2-56-110. And anything that we've said about that where we can speak about it publicly, we have done so. And so the public safety section of the OIG reviews the misconduct investigations conducted by COPA and BIA. And so where BIA has conducted an investigation into the matter, we did send a recommendation to reopen, and all those things are published on our website, igchicago.org. If you click on publications, and you can do a search for any CPD member's name or any organization, and the products that we've published on that issue will come up pursuant to that search. With regard to your second question, CCPSA, pursuant to their ordinance, did send us a letter, and we responded in kind, in writing, but we have not published anything, so there's nothing public on that matter. And then with regard to the consent decree, your third question, that's going to be handled by the independent monitoring team. The independent monitor is Maggie Hickey, Maggie, or Margaret Hickey, Hickey. But OIG, we're independent of the other city departments, but we're actually a part of the city as well. So we were subject ourselves to the consent decree. We met and maintained full compliance with the consent decree, the OIG, in December 2023. So we were the first and thus far the only department that has met our obligations. So we conduct audits of CPD, but so that we are being efficient and not duplicating the work of the IMT. We don't necessarily cover the exact same evaluations that the monitor covers. So I hope that answered all 3 of your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. And last, but certainly not least, we have Steve Jensen.
It's sad that I have to keep coming to these meetings, beating the same drum to affect change, but I guess that's what we have to do around here. Councilman David Orikoff, we are writing to formally call for your resignation from your role as District Councilman of the Chicago 14th Police District, effective immediately. This request arises from multiple incidents and allegations of inappropriate behavior, including aggressive and intimidating interactions with community members, comments that have been described as racist, xenophobic, misogynistic. This has been going on for 2 years. This is a press release that was put out by 19 district councilors 2 years ago. Councilor Orikoff is arrogant enough to maintain his seat and stay seated on this council. I feel that is wrong. I feel that is bully behavior. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I look forward to running against you in the next election and removing you from that position. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Jensen. Hey, any other public comments that anyone would like to share? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed on with our agenda. Okay, this is the part of the agenda where we're going to inquire about the trends and concerns of the district. So if we've kind of discussed already the airbag issue. Thank you once again, Lieutenant Ortega, and the catalytic converters that preceded that. Is there anything that we need to be more informative to the police as far as concerns coming from the community. What would you like to see more of, less of, that sort of thing. So this is not a new part of our agenda that we baked in to make certain that we're reporting both sides of the aisle here, from the community to the police and to the police to the community. So that being said, do we have any trends or concerns from the community?
I can say one thing.
Okay.
Is, and I don't know what the status of this is because it was suggested and promoted some months ago, is that, and I think the mayor had it as part of his platform, is it called trauma, not
The treatment, not trauma, you're talking about?
what is it?
The treatment, not trauma?
Yeah, right. Where instead of having the police go out on every call, that some of them would be handled by professional counselors and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, can I speak?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, at the minutes at our previous meeting, I gave a presentation on the updates on that program, which is called treatment of trauma has a couple components. A major one is CARE, the crisis assistance response and engagement, the alternative response instead of police. Treatment not trauma, the broader thing, also seeks to have mental health centers that people can drop into and wraparound services. But you can look at the presentation in the minutes that will be posted on our website. Maybe give it up to a week, I guess. We approved them today, so but the minutes that will go up for April that we approved today, in the presentation section, there's a hyperlink to the presentation that we had. And if you need help getting to that, talk to me after the meeting, please. But the short of it, sorry, is that it started in a couple pilot areas. They are expanding it citywide. However, the citywide expansion only has one van for the entire city. So there's 8 CARE teams currently. So there's definitely a need for more consistent funding in order to have better coverage, both in terms of the hours of operation and the reach across the city. They're also still working on the training with the OEMC, which is the 911 operators, and also how the CARES teams work with the police department and back and forth, so that calls are being diverted to routed to the right places. But funding for vans is definitely something that needs to happen if there's going to be an expansion in service.
Funding for what?
The CARES team. I said vans, but the teams with the teams with the vans. But yeah, you can look at the presentation and we can talk later. Thank you.
And also, it's a good time to remind any and all, our previous meetings are on our YouTube page, our brand new YouTube page, which is managed by a third party, wonderful admin assistant from staff, Nat Duran. So, and you may have seen Nat bring post-it notes up here, and this goes more into what your inquiry was about the consent decree and the independent monitoring team. The young lady that Ms. Richardson had mentioned, Maggie Hickey, she's expected to be attending our July meeting. So more to come on the independent monitoring team and what have you.
Oh, that's great. Sorry, and another last note about treatment not trauma. They gave a presentation for us previously, and we have they have petitions. This is just for private individuals. The council hasn't officially endorsed this, but if you would like the CARES teams and treatment not trauma to be expanded, you're free to look at the petitions that are on that table. Thank you.
All right. Any other trends or concerns that we need to be aware of?
This is a personal thing, I guess. Is there a sign-in sheet?
Yes,
I have one.
it's coming around.
Yeah. Thank you, Nat. You're working overtime today. And by the way, I also want to take the time to mention to everyone that I appreciate the flexibility. Our normal room was occupied today, so we had to change things on the fly, and I appreciate everyone being accommodating. I know we got a late start, and I do apologize for that. But thank you for your flexibility, and of course, couldn't make it happen without the flexibility of all, but especially the hard work that Nat Duran put into it as well. All right, so no other trends or concerns. Last opportunity. Of course, you can always reach out to us individually via email or and our website, and we also have a general email that's also monitored by our staff. see, it looks like we've got reports from the counselors.
Sure. Thank you. Yesterday was May Day, which is an international holiday that began in Chicago, which was also the origin of the weekend. So, thank a worker or yourself for that. Happy May Day, everybody. One piece of note: the current court case, being brought seeking a special prosecutor to investigate crimes by federal immigration agents in Cook County, had a hearing, and the next hearing is with Judge Reddick for May 11th. And there was a call for evidence to be shared in regards to that. My email included the electronic form. I don't have an easy link to it, but contact me if you would like information. But there's a call for anybody who has made a complaint or knows anybody that has made an official complaint who has already made a complaint. So if you made a complaint to a state or city body or agency or COPA or Attorney General or anybody else, they would like to, basically gather that information for these court proceedings. So let me know if you'd like about that. And lastly, on a sad note, one of our constituents, Neil Risdall, who has attended these meetings before, and was my personal friend for 15 years. He sadly passed away this last week of lung disease. So I would like to call for a very brief moment of silence. And Neil was, always a friendly and energetic guy, and very passionate, about justice and caring about more than just himself. So if you wouldn't mind, just a brief moment. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for that. Councilor Vargas, do you have any updates that you'd like to share?
I do. I have them written down, so give me 1 second to bring them up. All right. All right. So, hi, everyone. I want to start off by apologizing for not being there in person today. My travels didn't go as planned, but I should be arriving later this week. I know being present matters, and I appreciate you all showing up today. If anyone needs me, feel free to reach me through my email. Even when I can't be physically present, I do try to be engaged in this work daily, and I want to make sure everyone's hearing updates from me about what I'm working on and pushing forward. So update 1 is around victim services. So on April 30th, the commission held a meeting focused on victim services, and what we heard was really painful and unacceptable. Mothers came forward to speak about their sons who were killed and the lack of communication from detectives. One family has been trying to get a meeting with their assigned detective for over a year and a half without a response. These are not isolated situations. It really points to a pattern of failure in how victims and their families are treated. We also heard from an immigration attorney who raised concerns about how police are documenting victim statements in ways that can actually harm people's U visas applications, putting survivors at risk instead of supporting them. In addition, we heard from advocates working on wrongful convictions who reminded us that Chicago has one of the highest rates of wrongful convictions in the nation. When investigations lack integrity, when there's no accountability, everybody is put at risk. Victims aren't supported, innocent people are harmed, and the perpetrators are not held accountable. In our own area, Detective Commander John Foster has faced votes of no confidence tied to multiple past wrongful convictions and coerced confessions that have cost taxpayers millions of dollars. This is why I help uplift the work of 12th District Councilor Leo Quintero, and we will continue to push for a Chicago Victim Bill of Rights that would clearly define when and how detectives must communicate with victims and their families. So I continue to stand with this and support this effort. Update 2, Commission and Nominating Committee. I want to share updates on appointments that appointments to the commission. The mayor has selected Anjanette Young and Angelique Guzman to replace outgoing commissioners around June. Both bring important perspectives around police accountability and community impact. The Police and Fire Committee has set a date for voting on the nominees appointed by the mayor. They are set to hear from the nominees on Wednesday, May 6th at noon. The meeting will take place at City Hall, 121 North LaSalle Street. We have not heard anything about the third seat that is up for vacancy in October, and we will be sure to keep you posted once we hear from the mayor's office. I also want to share a deeply concerning incident that required the nominating committee to take a censure vote during our long nomination process. District Councilor Lee Bilecki, a member of the nominating committee, was formally censured by the committee after showing up uninvited to the home of a young Black woman applicant, our current youth commissioner, Abier Minor, in the middle of the night to question her qualifications. This behavior was not only inappropriate, but it was extreme and it was dangerous. A white retired police officer showing up to the home of a young Black woman uninvited at night carries a history in this country. It is tied to a long legacy of racism, intimidation, and violence against Black women. And that historical context cannot be ignored. This was entirely outside the scope of his role and a serious breach of trust. So this incident was referred over to the OIG, and we are awaiting further investigation. Update 3, it's around treatment, not trauma. I've also joined the CARES committee for district councils, and I have been working with other council members to build support for a citywide treatment, not trauma program. In short, as many of you know, we are pushing for reopening and expanding public mental health centers. 12 mental health centers that were closed previously, and we are working to reopen that. We are creating 24/7 crisis response spaces across the city called living rooms, expanding non-police crisis response teams citywide, and investing in training community-based care workers with lived experience. So this treatment, not trauma, is about building real public safety rooted in care, healing, and prosperity, not only punishment. We have a petition that community members can sign to champion this effort to help us push the mayor's office to support this initiative. So please see Nat to sign the petition. And update 4, pressure for investigations. Excuse me. So I wanna update folks on accountability related to immigration enforcement and policing. Following Operation Midway Blitz, there have been serious concerns raised about misconduct by federal agents and potential cooperation with CPD. Reports and testimony have included incidents of excessive force, wrongful arrest, and harm to community members. Despite these concerns, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office has failed to take action to investigate these cases and has opposed calls for a special prosecutor. Because of that, I joined other electeds and community leaders in calling on the Illinois Accountability Commission to pursue criminal charges where civil rights violations occurred, and to refer those findings to the appropriate agencies responsible for enforcement. So that includes the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Office, Illinois State Police, and local police departments. Our communities deserve transparency and justice, especially when there are credible allegations of harm involving law enforcement. This is about making sure no agency operates above the law and that the rights and safety of our communities are protected. And finally, I'd like to pass it on to Nat. I asked Nat to attend a 26th Ward Public Safety Town Hall hosted in the 14th District in my place. So if Nat, do you have any updates on how that town hall went?
I do. Hold on, let me share my screen very quickly so everyone can see. Alder Fuentes's office was generous enough to share their slides with us.
We turned on at
Oh,
the,
sweet.
Nope, that's on. Hold on.
okay, I see a red light.
I
Maybe
think
the-
I think it is off. I think the light turned on when you flipped the switch before.
There we go.
Oh, never mind.
All right.
I'm wrong.
Let me just find. I think it's the remote that doesn't work.
Hmm.
Thank you once again, everyone, for your patience.
If anybody is interested or knows anybody, the CCPSA is hiring the assistant associate director for district councils. So working under the director for district council staff of it. So Nat here is staff for I think 3 different districts.
Correct. You would
Um,
be my boss.
yeah, right. If you know somebody, they have I think maybe until May 18th. I think is the deadline to apply. While we're waiting.
Gray Q. I don't know the deadline, but that sounds right. That
Something
sounds like
like
a
that.
date that I've.
More information on that particular item and application information can be found on the CCPSA website, which I believe we have listed on at the front of our agenda. If you, I know how I usually get to it. I Google search CCPSA Chicago and it takes me right there. Like we got something going on there. All right.
Okay. So I will say it was for folks who weren't there. Highly recommend. I'd never been to one of the quarterly community safety town halls, and it was a great event. We had the pleasure of hearing from both Alder Fuentes as well as Commander Rivera and the CAP Sergeant. It was primarily question and answer, so community members were able to come up and pose their questions to any one of those parties. But there was also a kind of like year-long look at crime and it was a 14th district specific event. As you can see, nearly a year long, from April 28th of 2025 to April 21st of this year. Let me see if I can minimize. There we go. So over that time period, there was a total of 148 violent crimes, the breakdown of which you could see below and represented in this map. However, it was really heartening to have highlighted that of all those days, there were 262 days without any crime in the district, which is, I feel, something worth celebrating. There was also then a concentrated heat map demonstrating so here what you've got on the left side are the months of the year, and down here is each day of the month. So literally breaking down when there are spikes in crime, both by month or by day. And what mostly was highlighted here is that, as is no surprise, that the highest crime numbers occur during the summer. One of what a very strong takeaway that I enjoyed how it was delivered by Alder Fuentes was uplifting the Summer Shy Works program, ensuring youth employment, formerly known as One Summer Chicago. Part of the reason why the name changed, this is a program operated through the Department of Family Supports and Services, DFSS, and the name shifted from One Summer Chicago to Chicago Youth Works because a lot of the partnerships that DFSS has formed with organizations hiring young people now make those jobs year-round instead of just during the summer. However, Alder Fuentes was very enthusiastic in encouraging folks in relationship with young folks to encourage them to get jobs. And mostly keep them exhausted, because if they're exhausted, they're not out and about with idle hands. So So yeah, and again, and then the following this very short slide presentation, it was largely a question and answer period where we don't need to look at us.
Need the other one.
Yeah, we'll turn this off now. But again, it seemed like a great event for everyone in attendance. Everyone got their answer or their questions answered and addressed, and there was some kind of like community troubleshooting as well. I was pleasantly surprised to get an invitation to also speak on behalf of the 14th District Council. So I was able to inform folks of this meeting, of the April 30th commission meeting around victim services, and to just, encourage folks to if public safety is your game and bag, since you're here, and quarterly isn't enough, please join us at our monthly meetings, and directed them to our website. So what I have from the town hall.
All right, does that conclude your updates, Councilor Vargas?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nat.
All right, and thank you as well. I'm going to be really quick with my updates, not nearly as long as those took. Nat and I have been working on putting together a coffee with a counselor event at the Collectivo Coffee on at the corner of California and Milwaukee. Still trying to secure a date and time. It's more than likely going to be on a weekday, 4 to 6 in the afternoon. We're just trying to pin down that date. That's basically just a public outreach where we can sit there and come out to the community rather than expecting the community to come to us at whatever library or park we are in. And I want to hear any concerns that you have. For example, I had a constituent reach out to me directly, issue that they have with a police officer, and said, "Hey, this is part of my role. I want to make certain you walk away with some level of understanding or some satisfaction to your level." And I extend this to each and every one of our constituents. So if there's anything you want to talk to me about, you want to call me names, you want to sit there and share jokes with me, I'll be at the Collectivo Coffee. Date and time is to be determined, but it should be coming out in the email as well. Let's see. I also wanted to take a moment to extend the profound concern about the events that took place last week just outside of our district at Swedish Hospital. I'd be remiss if we didn't take the time to recognize the loss of Officer Bartholomew and his partner being critically wounded in that. And I think that if we're going to come to some semblance of understanding and progress forward, we need to sit there and be mindful of every partner and stakeholder that we have here. So keep John Bartholomew, Officer John Bartholomew, and his critically wounded partner in your thoughts and prayers if you should practice. I think that any kind of celebration, that any kind of demise that should happen to any part of our community, which includes you, includes me, includes my colleagues, and includes our police, is moving the wrong direction. So
What's his partner's name?
Crespo. Nelson Crespo.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And from my understanding, there were members of the 17th Police District. They were serving in 17. So my thoughts go out to both of them and their families, of course. Another item that I participated in, the training observation day at the Police Academy on Jackson. I kind of showcased it a little bit at our last meeting. It turned out to be a very wonderful experience. It was pretty much standing room only. So anytime one of those things come up on your radar, I highly encourage you to jump in and get an understanding of not just the police class that's coming in, that what they're getting trained on, but the dedicated professionals that are making certain that they're being trained the proper way. A lot of that is interaction. They're getting a younger batch of recruits in, and they're more geared towards their phone than making eye-to-eye contact and interacting with people. And that's one of the things that they're combating and they're working on during their training now. So they're adapting with the shift in social and climate changes, if you will, as far as interacting with people. That's one of the foremost things that that they're focusing on is teaching these young recruits when you're out there. This is one of the most vital things. Understand your environment and make certain you're engaging with people appropriately. So, hats off to our dedicated people at the Police Academy. With that, that closes out my updates, and we will move on in our agenda. All right, we've already gotten updates from the police.
I believe with the hearings and discussions, I would motion though to hold the hearings and discussions and have our main presentation, and then after that see if there's any. I don't have much planned, but if there's any warranted discussions, we could maybe do that after the presentation.
Okay, Council Vargas, do you have any objection to that?
I second that.
Okay, we'll move forward. I'd like to, before my colleague introduces, I'd like to welcome our interim OIG, lead investigator?
Interim Inspector General.
Interim Inspector General. Councilor Olikoff?
I actually wasn't aware of that news, but I think it's very well deserved. But yeah, we're blessed today again with well, I guess I had your title. The previous deputy director for public safety, the current remaining deputy director for public safety, meaning she's always been in charge of the part of the IG's office that we care about most here, and we'll be stepping into the head role as well. So we're very pleased again to welcome Ms. Richardson here to speak with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. So again, my name is Tabara Richardson. I'm serving as the Interim Inspector General, and I am also still serving as the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety. Thank you all for having me again. For folks who have seen this, who saw it last year, what I'm going to do is give Speedy a high-level overview of the Office of Inspector General. And then I was asked to speak about one of our reports that we published in December 2025 with regard to police discipline. And then last, I'm going to go over 2 dashboards that we've added to our website that pertain to CPD reported crimes and allegations of misconduct, some sustained, some not, where CPD members have been co-accused, which is an update to one of our dashboards that we've had before. So in that order, we will start with the mission of OIG. So what is OIG? OIG is an independent, nonpartisan oversight agency with the mission of promoting economy, effectiveness, efficiency, and integrity in the oversight of city government. How do we do that? We do that in 3 main ways. One way that people know about is by conducting investigations. In reality, we don't conduct a lot of investigations into CPD members because there are 2 bodies whose sole purpose is to conduct investigations of CPD members. That's going to be the Bureau of Internal Affairs, or BIA, within the Chicago Police Department, or the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, or COPA. So COPA is the clearinghouse. If something falls within COPA's jurisdiction, they keep it. If it doesn't fall within their jurisdiction, and now recently the Welcoming City Ordinance was added to or clarified that it is a part of their jurisdiction. So if it falls within COPA's jurisdiction, they keep it. If not, it goes to BIA. Now, if either of those entities feels that OIG is the better entity to conduct that investigation, then they are always welcome to send us referrals. And a part of our independence is we do our work at our own discretion. So we decide if it's something that we take or not. The difference there is BIA and COPA, ultimately, they make their findings public, whereas OIG's work is confidential. So the most that anybody would get is what you will find in our quarterly reports, which is de-identified. So there are some pros and cons when the public thinks about who they think is the best body to investigate something. So OIG is independent, not just because I say we're independent, but because, and we're going through this process now, the Inspector General is nominated by the mayor, confirmed by the City Council. The mayor has announced his selection for the next Inspector General. We expect that confirmation to happen on May 20th. And that is a protected term. The Inspector General can only be removed for cause, a 4-year term, a maximum of 2 terms, total of 8 years. We're protected and where we can't be starved out, so to speak, where the OIG's budget was no less than 0.14% of the city's overall budget, approximately 14 million. Most of it is in personnel, and then we do work at our own discretion as well. So in all those ways, we are independent by design. Everyone, whether it's city employees, elected officials, contractors, subcontractors, licensees, vendors, folks have to cooperate with OIG in our investigations. And then we have access to all documents and the individuals themselves who are subject to our interviews and our investigations. The structure of OIG, we have the Inspector General, and I'm currently serving as Interim Inspector General. We have the Public Safety Section. I'm also serving as the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety. We also have our operations, like any other entity, HR. We have our Center for Information Technology and Analytics, which we refer to as CETA. So all of our dashboards, all of that work is done by that section. Audit and Program Review. They conduct audits for the 30 plus departments outside of the Chicago Police Department. Chicago Police Department falls under the public safety section. And then we have our legal section, which is also comprised of not only our attorneys, but also our intake specialists. So every single complaint, every intake that we get, there is a person who looks at them. They're looked at most of the time 1 to 2 to 3 times at least. So we look at everything that comes to us. If you look at our quarterly reports, we're talking about numbers in the thousands about each month. And then same thing, compliance. If we go back in time, just like we're under a consent decree now, previously as it relates to hiring, we were under the Shackman decree, and now OIG still make sure that the city is in compliance there. And then our investigation section. So I'm going to dive a little deeper specifically into the public safety section. If we go back to 2014, we have the killing of Laquan McDonald. Fast forward to 2015, we have when that video was released. Fast forward, even though we're back in time, to 2016, then Mayor Rahm Emanuel created the Police Accountability Task Force. And as a part of the work that that task force did, they recommended that there be a dedicated section within the Office of Inspector General specifically for police oversight, police accountability. And so the first Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety was confirmed in April 2017, and I'm serving as the fourth Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety, and I started in October 2022. Our mission comes straight from our ordinance, MCC Municipal Code of Chicago 2-56-230. And so there you can read exactly what we are doing and how we execute that. We do that in 2 ways. So the public safety section is comprised of 2 units, our performance analysis unit and our investigative analysis unit. So the PA unit does the audits, just like our audit and program review section, but our audits and evaluations specifically for the Chicago Police Department and the Police Accountability Agency. So that's going to be COPA, BIA, the Police Board, CCPSA. So that is our oversight there. When you read published reports, that is coming from our analysts who conduct the evaluations there. But then what we also do, which is not only unique as it relates to Chicago, but really unique nationally as it relates to the police accountability landscape, is we review the investigations conducted by COPA and BIA. And why are we reviewing them? What we're looking for is mostly consistency and fairness in those investigations, but then we're also looking for any deficiencies that may affect the outcome or material deficiencies. So that leads us to 2 main products. One product is going to be in an individual investigation. If we think that there are deficiencies that affect the outcome, what we may do is send a recommendation to reopen to the investigative body, whether it's BIA or COPA, pointing out the deficiency that we found, and then they have to let us know whether they are accepting a recommendation. And ultimately, we publish all of those recommendations to reopen to our website. So that's on the one hand. If we see issues that don't impact an individual investigation, but it impacts just how they are conducting investigations overall. Then we will send a recommendation to inform and improve. So, for example, the last recommendation to inform and improve we sent was with regard to Rule 47. Rule 47 says that you can't associate with any known convicted felons. And so what we found there were inconsistencies in how the department was sustaining violations in some instances and not sustaining them in other instances. And whatever they decide to do, the point is that they need to write down exactly what they're doing so that CPD members can know when they will or won't be in violation of the rule. So that was the last one. We've also written as far as a recommendation to inform and improve the storage of body worn camera footage. That was an issue for lots of reasons, but what we were seeing was that in the police narratives, it would say that there was BWC footage, but then it wasn't associated with the misconduct investigation. That was important, not only so that they could do a thorough and complete misconduct investigation, but at the end of the day, a lot of CPD interactions are going to end up in criminal court. And legally, there's an obligation to also turn over BWC footage there. So for lots of reasons, it's important to properly label the BWC footage so they could sort. So where we see issues across investigations, but not just pertaining to one investigation, that's where we send recommendations to inform and improve. So really, that's what the public safety section does: is we conduct evaluations or audits, and then we review the investigations of BIA and COPA. And then overall, the entire office, OIG, does investigations and audits of the entire city. And then I'm going to move a little faster now. And by all means, if you have questions or need clarification of anything as I'm talking, feel free. So public safety's jurisdiction, again, is going to be CPD, BIA within CPD, and then the other police accountability agency. So that's going to be COPA, the police board, CCPSA. CCPSA was created after the public safety section, but if you go to their ordinance, you'll see that it indicates that within a certain time period, the public safety section is to do an evaluation of CCPSA. And that's supposed to be a filter, and it just briefly gives a breakdown of COPA's jurisdiction, and anything that doesn't fall in COPA's jurisdiction is going to be BIA's jurisdiction. So the main things for COPA are going to be your Fourth Amendment violations, unlawful searches and seizures, allegations of sexual misconduct, bias-based verbal abuse, and now the Welcoming City Ordinance. Otherwise, it's going to BIA, and BIA conducts all of the criminal investigations. And I've told you this previously when I was describing the investigative analysis unit and the performance analysis unit, but essentially two broad buckets, and it's all broken down in our ordinance, but it's going to be audits, and it's going to be a review of misconduct investigation.
Really quickly, does everybody know what BIA stands for? Bureau of Internal Affairs? Okay, sorry.
And that's within the Chicago Police Department. And then this is just a list of at least the reports that we've published since I've been there. And the one I'm going to talk to you about, this might be a good place to shift. Let me see with other slides, but I'm going to talk to you about CPD's discipline, implementation, options, and record keeping. But let's see what else we have. Before I shift, I'll talk about the dashboards. So if you go to igchicago.org, or you can just do a Google search for Chicago OIG, you'll come to our website. You click on information portal, and then you click on public safety. So you can look at information about the entire city. For today's purposes, I'm going to talk about the public safety dashboards. And so what you'll find is we have 7 dashboards pertaining to the Chicago Police Department and 1 dashboard pertaining to the Chicago Fire Department. And you can see any and everything to include information pertaining to 911, calls for service, arrests, tactical response reports. So that's whenever there's any physical contact involved, investigatory stop reports. That's whenever someone is stopped, doesn't lead to an arrest. And then the 2 that I highlight from the last time I had an opportunity to speak with you all is if you go to our complaints notification dashboard, what you'll find is now you will be able to see an expansion, a different way to look at the data, where if anybody is co-accused at least 2 times, I believe the number is about 23, but you'll be able to see and you can filter and play with it however you choose to. But where CPD members have been co-accused for allegations of misconduct. So that's one addition since last year. And the other one, which relates to what both Nat and Lieutenant Ortega spoke about, is crimes, right? So it's totally fine if you choose to wait for someone else to give you that information, but you actually have that information at your own fingertips. If you go to igchicago.org, click on information portal, click on public safety, and then where you're going to go is to, and maybe I need to update this. Looks like I do. But what it's going to say is CPD reported crimes. And so we have back-end access to all of CPD's data. So of course it's only as good as whatever CPD is as good as anybody can have. And so you can go there and you can filter it however you choose to, whether you want to look at a week's period of time, a month's period of time, if you want to look at the 14th district, if you want to look at the city overall, it is all right there at your fingertips. If you want to filter by a specific type of crime, if you want to filter by a specific period of time, it is literally all right there for you. And so we have that as a part of our data dashboards. And this is just going through the different dashboards that we have. So 911 calls for service, arrests. You keep going, because I basically hit on all of them already anyway. Keep going. Demographics or information about CPD members, whether it's years of service, however you want to filter, like all of that information is there. And again, this is the complaints and notifications dashboard. If I had updated, which I hadn't yet, when you clicked here, you would have actually seen another dashboard, and it's going to look like this, like weird thing with a bunch of connected dots. But that is where you can look and filter based on like CPD members who have been co-accused for misconduct violations. Same thing whenever someone is stopped, investigatory stop reports, tactical response reports, that's whenever any contact is made. And I forget, we have another day, CPD overtime. So where you can go and you will see, when you first click on it, you see the top 10 folks who are earning overtime, and you just to departments where we spend out the most money as far as the city is. And so here, understanding that the workforce allocation study was just put out, and we expect to see some adjustments from that. But as it currently stands, we are paying a lot of money for overtime, and it's all here for you to look at. And what's nice about the dashboards is data for transparency's sake. So we're not telling you what it means or what conclusions to make. We'll leave that to you. But if you want access to the data, it is all here for you. So you don't have to guess about it. You don't have to wait for anybody else to tell you. You are able to look and know for yourself.
So it's data, not statistics.
Correct.
To put it more succinctly.
And then we have the discipline flow charts, 20 plus, depending on the recommended discipline or the rank of the CPD member, whether they're FOP, PBPA, etc. Because of the ongoing litigation, those things are likely to change as CPD members will have the ability to go bypass the police board and go to arbitration. So we have not updated those flow charts yet, but as they had stood throughout time, they are there for you. And how can we be of use? If you have any information about city government, then by all means, give us a call. There are so many ways. 833 talk to IG. That's the number 2. If you prefer email, talk to IG at igchicago.org. Again, that's the number 2. Or you can just go to the website, igchicago.org. We have an online form there. So however people feel comfortable, we try to make ourselves available to receive information. And how can we help? I will go anywhere to talk about the work, or I will go anywhere to listen. Or if something we've published or just playing around with the dashboards, basically we're willing to show up in whatever way we can be of service. So before we get to questions, because I was asked to speak specifically about our latest discipline report. I'm going to give a high level recap there. To view that report, you can go to igchicago.org, and really you can just search discipline and you'll see everything we've published. We've published a follow-up to our first discipline report. This was our second disciplinary report, but this one was the one that was published in December of 2025 specifically. And so what we did there was we looked at the end of the life cycle of CPD discipline. So it does take a while from the point where a complaint is filed to when that complaint is resolved to it going through the grievance process. So CPD members can accept recommended discipline if an allegation is sustained, or they can grieve that discipline. And then that takes its own life cycle. So we looked at the period from 2016 to 2021 to allow us to be able to look at disciplinary investigations that had completed that life cycle. And what we were looking at was whether discipline was actually being implemented and whether it was being documented. And what we found is that it was not, at least from what we could tell, because it wasn't being consistently documented, that makes it uncertain as to whether it was being consistently implemented. So specifically, there are four possibilities, generally speaking, as far as how misconduct investigation can end. One, it could be not sustained. So then that's pretty much the end of it, even though we send recommendations to reopen. If we catch it, we try to catch the recommendations. The discipline when it's in command channel review. So that is before it's finalized. Basically, once an investigator, whether it's COPA or BIA, completes an investigation, then it goes through the chain of command through the superintendent. And that is the stage in which my office, my team tries to catch those investigations before they are finalized. But let's say it is finalized, right? And then it goes through the grievance process. So it is like done. And now the question is, say if there's four possibilities, we can have a violation noted, we can have a reprimand, a suspension, or separation, which is being fired. So those are the four options. And what we found was that for reprimands, in over half of the instances, the discipline was documented. As it related to suspensions, it was in about a third of the time the discipline was documented. And then last, thanks for pulling this up for me. So if you go down to publications.
I'll get the average.
Yep. So click on OIG publications. Yep. And then you can just, in this search here box, that'll be faster. Go down, not this one. So this, if the first search box is going to be everything, this search box is going to be just for publications, which we've gone into. So if you just want to put, yeah, yep. So it was that first one, but that's okay. Let's see. How about we add a word? Let's add implementation. Yep, there we go. Yeah. So we always give an executive summary, right? So you'll get the high level, like I'm verbally giving you now. And then there's always going to be a table of contents, so you can go straight to the part that you are interested in. Otherwise, what we would love is if you would read it from cover to end, but understanding, right? Maybe everybody is not reading all of our products from beginning to end. But this is it. So where did I leave off? So we have four options, different levels of it being.
You said suspension was a third of the time?
Yeah, and then separation was all the time. So whenever someone was recommended separation, then that was recorded every single time. So why does this matter, right? It matters for a number of reasons. And actually, I'm going to make one point before I talk about why it matters. What we also looked at was options. So what options are is if a suspension is recommended and I have enough paid time off or PTO, I can say, and the superintendent only gets to decide at his discretion, can I use my PTO instead of taking paid time off and being outside of the job. And so what that means is this individual CPD member is never going to have a break from being on the street. And I'm not giving any opinions here. I'm just giving you like the facts, like what it means. And then because options were not like, they barely had any records as it relates to options because it wasn't being recorded. That plays into implementation because now we don't know. We assume that if options were granted, that the person, right, it reduced their PTO, even if they never lost any days on the street. So, right, that is still a form of discipline, even if it doesn't look like being off of the street. But like honestly, you assume that that's the case, but you don't really know. And then what we found is that there weren't any records pertaining to the superintendent's use of his discretion as it relates to options. So again, when we're talking about fairness and consistency, there is no way to figure that out because there are no records pertaining to options. Okay, so now fast forward, why does all of this matter? I would say it matters for two reasons. When we have a system of progressive discipline, or we're supposed to have a system, well, one, records just matter for the sake of record keeping. That's one. But thinking like long term also, when we are supposed to have a system of progressive discipline, it's hard to have progressive discipline if we are not keeping the right records. So when the CPD member comes before me again and I cannot look back to see exactly what happened, well, then it's hard for me to progressively discipline this individual. That's one. And then two, we're also, and this is required by the consent decree, we have an early intervention system, or we're supposed to have an early intervention system. And again, where we are not keeping track of what is happening in our disciplinary system, it's hard to be able to spot those CPD members who may need some other type of intervention. Discipline is its own thing, but where we are keeping CPD members in their positions, we want to make sure that we are best equipping them to do their jobs well, and that's for them and for us as civilians. So for multiple reasons, but those I would say like my highlight reasons of why that matters. So maybe not in the exact order, but I have covered everything I started off saying I would cover, which was an overview of OIG, the report, our latest disciplinary report, and our dashboards, our latest dashboards. So I welcome any questions. And I can hang around if people prefer after. Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I do have one question.
Department responsible for investigating corruption in the rank of counselor.
You're talking about the district council members?
Talking about like us.
Who can pay taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, so we have received some of those complaints.
Great. And how do I contact you? Is that 311 or your website for those as well?
So that's talk to IG at igchicago.org, the number 2, 833 talk to IG, again, the number 2, or if you go to igchicago.org, we have an information form or online complaint form.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, you mentioned how your department tries to catch finalization or SCOPA or finalizes it. Is there any obligation between those departments and yours to make sure that you are seeing that? Or I might have missed like how
Yeah.
like you kind of have to keep an eye on when those happen.
Yep, that's exactly right.
How do you like how do you look at that like efficient? Like how do you know that you're efficient? Keeping track.
So I will speak from a practical perspective, and then I will speak from like an example where that did not happen. So just from a practical perspective, every single week we are looking at the investigations that are in command channel review. So the CPD's case management system, or CMS, we have access to everything, and so once it's in CCR, like once whether it's BIA or COPA has closed it, then we see it, we have access to it, and then we have 6 investigative analysts. We divide those investigations up. They review them throughout the week, and every Friday for 2 hours, our team meets and we discuss every single one of those that they reviewed that week. So just that's it from a practical perspective. And then like that's my unit that is fast paced. We see something on that Friday, and they know that a draft is expected to us by that Monday or Tuesday, and like we are just passing it along to get it out by that following Friday. So we give ourselves like about a week's time to like catch it while it's in command channel review. So that's from a practical perspective, and then the system has worked really well. But I'll give you an example, which was actually brought up earlier, for an instance where it didn't work the same way. There is sometimes when, and don't quote me on this because I like to know the exact wording, but say if it's like special or unique circumstances where the investigative body specifically is typically with BIA decides that an investigation needs to bypass command channel review. And that when that happens, just from a practical perspective, like it just makes it hard for us to catch it. And then specifically with the Oath Keepers, there were actually two. Sometimes people forget about the first one, but that's okay. But the second one with the multiple CPD members, that one bypassed command channel review. So we still ended up sending a recommendation to reopen, but technically it was beyond like that window that we would normally have.
Screen sharing is still on? Screen sharing is still on, by the way. I didn't know if you wanted to. I like this. So I have a question, if no one minds. You mentioned about the intervention process.
Yeah.
And you try to catch it as early as possible. My question is primarily like, okay, what resources are you using to do that early set intervention?
So it's actually not us. It's the Chicago Police Department.
Okay.
Is obligated per the consent decree to have an early intervention system. And so when you're going through the consent decree, there are going to be different stages. First stage is, do we have something on paper? Second stage is, has there been a training done? And then finally, it's like implementation. That's when you get into full compliance. Now, the last that I was aware of, we're still at the beginning.
On the lower end of it?
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be up to CPD. I mean, but they do have like different programs that say as a part of a disciplinary recommendation, it's not technically discipline, but where they can recommend them for certain programs.
Right.
Yeah.
Corrective action. So like first line supervisors, and kind of looking at you there, kind of, but
yeah.
No, to where it's like, okay, well, we're taking intermediary steps to make certain nothing bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and that's because you alluded to, yeah, we implement this, and I didn't mean wholesale. I thought it was more of an OIG.
No,
That's
but
why
it's CPD specifically. But however, like ultimately, right, we do what only we can do as far as the evaluations, those things, while CPD members are doing what only they do, right? Running towards danger, everybody else is running away. And so whatever things that we already have on our website, or like we give recommendations, however we can help in that process, we definitely try to do that. But ultimately it's up to the department to implement.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for taking what's fairly opaque and making it work. Regarding the separation process, is it all discretionary, or are there ever criteria where a series of events make it mandatory?
So per ordinance, the only thing I can think of offhand where it's mandatory would be for a residential violation, and that's any city employee, because we're all required to be residents of the city. Otherwise, how it works is if BIA recommends separation, then like it's grieved, and if it's an arbitrator agrees, then like that's that. If COPA recommends separation, if the superintendent agrees, then that's the end of it. But if the superintendent does not agree, then and that's where the police board comes in. They have to overcome their burden to show that the members shouldn't be separated, or whether it's the finding shouldn't be sustained, anything of that nature, and the police board decides that. But ultimately, if the superintendent agrees, or the superintendent does not agree but doesn't overcome his burden, then it goes through the grievance process. And then whether it's the police board or an arbitrator makes that final decision as it relates to whether that CPD member will be separated.
All right, thank you. Yes, I have two questions. One is if you could explain a little bit about you were saying co-accused in the dashboards. I'm not totally sure on that. And then just my other question is I think maybe you said this is something that you can't comment on, but the CCPSA, the commission previously made, I guess, a request or a recommendation for OIG to investigate into any issues of CPD collaboration with federal immigration. I'm wondering if there is any type of response that you give like to CCPSA for that, if there will ever, if it will be known if that's something you're looking into or not, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So I can answer the latter question first. So they voted on it in the, I forget which monthly meeting, but it was voted on. That was a public meeting, and they did send us a written referral. And the ordinance specifies that within, I believe it's 10 business days, not 10 days, but whatever the period is, we responded within the requisite time, also in writing. But I land in the same place that we have not published anything public, so there's nothing publicly available on that topic. So that's as much as I have.
The response is private responses. I understand.
Yeah, it was to CCPSA.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And when I'm not sure if it will ever be public. But I would just say, and this is like the same thing, at the end of the day, we do, the public safety section does two things, and we will continue to do that, right? And that's going to be conduct audit and evaluations. And if we do conduct an audit and evaluation, it will be public once that evaluation is complete and we publish it to our website. So that is when it will be public if you see a product on that. And then same thing as it relates to our review of the individual misconduct investigations. Once that process is complete, we also publish that. So I guess the long story short is, in the event that we do conduct an audit or we review an investigation, if there are any deficiencies, we'll public our rec to reopen, and then we publish all of our audits. So that is the day where it would be public.
Thank you.
With regards to your first, if you would just, can you go back to the internet? Okay. And then it's really cool. Now, what I will say, because it's so much information, if you try to look at all of the years, it's gonna be super slow. Might take a lifetime. So if there's something specifically that you're interested in, I would say filter it down. So let's go to information portal. Let's click on public safety, or that's fine. Let's go down. It's fine. Let's scroll down, and yep, click on public safety. Let's go down, and let's click on complaints notifications. So like if you play with our website, it'll be the same thing you've seen before, but this is the difference. So it's the same information that was there before for individual CPD members, but now you can look at it in a different way when folks are co-accused. Okay, so let's click on this complaint register network. Let's go. Let's keep going. Lots of information, so just be patient with it. Maybe you're sipping tea or something else while you're letting it load.
Is the idea that it'll show if the same two officers have been accused together multiple times?
Yep, it can show that. If you want to search by individual CPD members, I was gonna unfortunately use the 18th district as an example. It'll show you that, or you can filter down to a specific unit. However you decide to look at it, as long as the CPD member has been co-accused at least 2 times.
So what is that? What exactly does co-accused mean? It means that they've had more than one accusation?
Correct.
Okay.
So on, say, one day I was accused of, I don't know, an unlawful seizure. I'm Officer A with Officer B. And then another time, say I'm accused of, I don't know, an unlawful search. And I'm Officer A again with Officer B. So as long as that has happened, or even, yeah, at least twice, then it's going to be on this dashboard. So let us So you'll see we can go far back, but I just want to go, let's select this filter. Right now it's all CPD members. And so what you'll see is the larger the dot, the like more times, more misconduct complaints. The larger or the thicker the line, the more times we've been co-accused. But then once you click on it, you see like the specifics, but just from a visual perspective. So like these two, not good. So let's go to a current unit. And then the example I was going to use was the 18th district, just because they've been in the media, so that was an easy, non-controversial.
I think it's pretty much more like the first time I've seen this to myself.
Okay.
But I think it's more like partners, because sometimes partners get in trouble, right? And I think that sounds easier how, right? It's kind of like
maybe.
Well,
units like 18 district.
Yeah, they're a tag team, so they work together often.
So and
so now you got to click.
Yeah, we're waiting for it to load. So while we're waiting on that, my question. So this snapshot, is it complaints alone, or is it like sustained complaints?
It's complaints alone.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that they're sustained. But and that's why, like, when we talk about like the early intervention system, all those things, you know, a lot of times what we're seeing is if complainants decide that they don't want to cooperate, different things, then most of those are going to be administratively closed. But like sometimes where there's smoke, maybe there's a fire. So we just want to have a tool, another way to look at things, so that if there's something that we should be aware of, like this gives us like a visual snapshot. It does the work for us. So let me see. It might be because it's a specific unit. That's why it's going to be the tech team. So typically all of our the pages on the front is going to tell you how often it's refreshed. It will tell you the last day it's refreshed. I don't know it offhand, and I'd hate to guess. I'll say the shortest, or the longest rather, period of time is refreshing at least every month. Most of our dashboards are going to be refreshed, I'm thinking weekly, some of them even more often. But you'll be able to see like on the first page where like the last time I was refreshed, because I like to do everything and do it very well. And it's taking forever. What I will commit myself to is I can come back another time and literally like play with the dashboard. So the CPD reported crimes, this dashboard, and then if any other ones you want before then, but the latest
extremely gracious offer. Thank you.
But yeah, so like this is back to all CPD members. I just use this because it's just taking forever to load. But let's just look here. So what you'll see is this dot. The bigger the dot, the more times, like the more log numbers. So this officer has 24 log numbers. So that's 24 times like different instances where they have received allegations of misconduct. And then you see that this line between these two is thick, and in fact it is red. So the thicker the line between two dots means like the more times they have been together co-accused.
At the same time during the accusation.
Actually, Vecchio is one who's on our
just in that time period.
Between 2023 and 2026.
Yep, that's the time frame there. Yeah.
Wow. What does red? Do the lines change colors when they get thicker, or does the color mean something else?
Let's.
That's for the district. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh yeah.
And so right now, he's an ARS, and so that's typically an indicator of when someone is relieved of their police powers.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Did we have another question back here? Anybody? My mistake.
Yeah.
All right. Now, before we let you off the hook, Ms. Richardson, I want to reach out to our virtual attendee. Councilor Vargas, do you have any questions for Mr. Barra Richardson?
Not at the moment. I want to thank you for your offer for coming back to our meeting. Yeah, that was very generous. Thank you.
Looks like we do have a question back here.
Yes, thank you. I was wondering what the scope or latitude of the OIG's questions were, and of course there's resource constraints. So just assuming that you had all the personnel and resources that you could want, I'm wondering, does the OIG see it as possibly within its purview to look at adjustments to its own jurisdiction vis-a-vis other public safety organs? That's one thing. Another example could be, does the OIG see as its role to analyze the performance of like violent interruption and violent prevention groups that receive local funding? Um, there's been anti-blackness and misogyny in terms of filtering out certain participants and training opportunities in terms of CBI work within the city. I think that there are serious concerns as various programs get upscaled, whether that's the CARES program or other programs. I think that there's concerns about how folks with lived experience are going to be, how those programs are going to be accessible to them, because lived experience is not enough, because oftentimes folks with the least social legibility and the least institutional legibility, who are often best positioned to address issues of public safety, are excluded from these processes. Folks that may have, folks that may be functionally illiterate, folks that may have had interrupted literacy or educational journey, disabled, and so on and so on. So do you see a role for OIG in pushing on those issues?
So I guess I'll start with the latter. What I will say is, to the extent someone has a contract with the city, or like if there's the jurisdictional connection there, then by all means, like, send that information or complaints as you see them to us, and we can look into them. With regard to how a specific violence interruption program is running or things of that nature, if they're receiving a grant, if it's not because it's a violation of a city rule or something of that nature, then that wouldn't necessarily fall within our jurisdiction. I would assume whoever is providing the grant will be, there are certain requirements, right, when you're receiving grants, and making sure that that organization is complying with the terms of it. So I guess in the hypothetical situation, I don't have, my answer will be a lawyer's favorite answer. It depends. But by all means, like, we welcome any and all complaints or thoughts, all those things. So please send them our way. Talk to IG at igchicago.org. That's the number 2, or igchicago.org online and take form. Now, with regard to expanding OIG's jurisdiction, our jurisdiction covers everything basically already outside of, say, for example, well, honestly, even what's in COPA's jurisdiction if they want to refer it to us. So I'm not sure our jurisdiction needs to be expanded per se, but what I will say is, and I mentioned it earlier, there are OIGCs about the entire city. COPA and BIA only see about, like, their sole purpose is to conduct investigations as it pertains to CPD. Now, OIG conducts the audits and evaluations of CPD, but if I'm guessing, because this is a public safety meeting, I'm not sure exactly what you had in mind, so I could be absolutely wrong, and apologies if I'm assuming incorrectly. But if it's pertaining to CPD member allegations of misconduct, then BIA and COPA, their sole purpose is to conduct those investigations, whereas OIG, we see about the entire city. And not that we don't. For example, it's been in our quarterly, all allegations as far as CPD members and PPP fraud. We've done all of those. So it's, one, we already have the jurisdiction, but two, like, that's just a reminder that BIA and COPA can always refer things to OIG if they think that we are better suited to conduct an investigation. But ultimately, their sole purpose is to conduct investigations of CPD members, whereas OIG conducts investigations of the entire city, the 30 plus departments, the elected officials, contractors, subcontractors. So we don't have a shortage of work. Put it like that.
Pretty big net there. Well,
Yeah.
Well, with that, you have another
We
question?
have a question. Counselor Vargas asks, what's the current sustain rate for police complaints?
I don't know the answer offhand. What I will say is the public safety section publishes an annual report. And so we're able to provide information based off of the investigations that we've reviewed in the prior year. Our 2025 annual report should be published. I'm aiming for like the beginning of June, first or second week in June. And so those stats will be there, but I don't like to give information when I'm not 100% certain. So, but what I'll do is I'm committing myself again. When we publish our annual report, I'll try to make sure that I send it to you all in June.
Fantastic. Well, thank you once again, Ms. Richardson, for your continued dedication to the 14th district, and congratulations once again on being named interim. I'm certain there's plenty of great things coming your way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
And we are going to take you up on that invite. So,
okay.
All right, moving on. So, if anybody has any further one-on-one interaction or questions for Ms. Richardson, she said that she would hang around for a bit. Just like any of the things that we discuss here, if you have one-on-one questions, we can make ourselves available for post-meeting briefings. So, okay, let's get into discussion.
I still have no important discussions.
Okay. All right, Councilor Vargas, any discussions on police accountability, restorative justice, or evidence-based approaches to community safety?
Not at the moment.
All right, thank you. All right, we do have some commission updates. I don't know if you received these or not.
Yes.
Basically, I'm just gonna do the high level. I'm not gonna read every word on here. I'll put you to sleep faster than you can think about. COPA chief selection. LaKenya White has been selected, and that's as of March 2026. So I don't have the most recent one, which took place 2 days ago. The COPA authority. City Council voted to give COPA the authority to investigate allegations that CPD violated the Welcoming Cities ordinance. Community mediation program from COPA. Daisha Muhammad spoke about the mediation program, which was created with substantial community input. COPA is now accepting applications to become a community mediator. So if anyone's interested in working with COPA and being a mediator, of course, I'm certain they've got their battery of qualifications. I highly encourage and welcome anybody to apply forthwith. CPD interaction with federal immigration enforcement agencies. They had a special meeting on April 2. Commission voted to recommend that the Deputy IG, Ms. Richardson here, conduct an audit of CPD's compliance, which you just went over. Sorry, I'm reading the back end of this as well. The April 30 meeting, it looks like they were focusing on victim services, and that is in our rearview mirror now.
Yeah, we heard about that from
right.
Congress.
The workforce allocation report was released in late March, and CCPSA staff are developing an overview. It's more than 100 pages, so give them a little bit of cushion to get something extrapolated from that. Community policing, commissioner's goals for the superintendent, establishing working group of commissioners, district counselors, CPD leadership. That's in the works. I think for our area, it is who is 15th district. Carmelita Earls is going to be the district council that's going to be representing our area responsibility. Alternative response, and I'm going to end it with this one. The commission has partnered with New York University Policing Project to increase understanding of alternative response. So that more information is forthcoming on that. I'm not going to bore anybody else. I'm going to make this available on our website as well in our supporting documents. But with the strong assistance of Nat Duran. Thank you once again for your continued help. All right, so moving forward, any resolutions, recommendations? We'll go to you, Councilor Vargas, first.
Sorry, what was that?
final actions, resolutions, or recommendations?
No.
Okay, none. Councilor Orlikoff?
No.
Okay, the only thing that that I would propose is between now and our next meeting, which I'll announce in just a few moments, that we get together with a special meeting so that we can vote and sign accordingly the expenditure of promotional items for outreach efforts. A little bit of information on that. I wanted to bring it up here because I think if we're spending the public money, you need to be aware of it. Basically, we're looking to set up a discussion and a vote forthcoming of setting up a boundary of $500 to be used for promotional items, keychains, whistles, things like that, for promotional items for our outreach efforts to kind of get more people into the room and hear from more people. Our wonderful staff member, Nat Duran, people are going to think the worst of us if I keep goading on you the way I do. He's been leading the charge on that, and I appreciate your efforts there. Anything else? Any final announcements from you, Councilor Vargas?
Nope.
Councilor Orlikoff?
At our next meeting, which we're going to announce, but at our next meeting, we're excited to be expecting our representative from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to present and also answer any questions that folks may have. So if you'd like to ask any questions of them, come to our next meeting, which will be Thursday, June 4th at 6 p.m. That's Thursday, June 4th at 6 p.m. at the Pulaski Park Fieldhouse, 1419 West Blackhawk. I just wanted to say the speaker for it.
Right. No. And just for visibility's sake, I know we haven't yet updated the website quite yet, but I know it's forthcoming. It should be any moment now, or could have been updated over the past 24 hours. We're shifting into our summer months. When we laid out the calendar for this year, we wanted to keep our summer months kind of shift gears a little bit from the weekends, because who wants to be out on a nice Saturday afternoon when the weather's nice, to a Thursday evening. And we're being the fact that public private libraries are closed usually at 6 p.m. and we're looking at a start time of 6 p.m. We're going to be moving to Chicago Parks. Okay, thank you for that. So our annual calendar is updated on our website. As my colleague, Councilor Orlikoff, mentioned, June's meeting is going to be June 4th, which is a Thursday evening at 6 p.m. We're going to be at the Pulaski Park Fieldhouse, 1419 West Blackhawk Street. Anybody unfamiliar with that area, it's Polonia Triangle, where the Lowe's and that they put the Lowe's in Wicker Park. Stone's throw distance from there. So look forward to seeing each and every one of you there. Any objections to adjourn?
No. Can I just add an update?
Please.
We have copies of the annual calendar on the table back there, and I've added the locations of the Pulaski Fieldhouse and Humboldt Park Fieldhouse, where we'll be having all of our summer meetings, to the map on the rear side of it.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay, hearing no objections, Councilor Vargas, any objections to adjourn?
No, just a final update. Well, announcement. Please, if you feel called to do so, sign the petition for treatment, not trauma, and the expansion of it. So we can ask the mayor's office to help us with that. Thank you. Sign the petition.
Thank you. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Time now is 2:49 p.m. and we are now adjourned.